Hey guys, it's Derek here. I am a Sydney web designer and Webflow developer. And in this video, I'd like to showcase my portfolio website, dereksu.com.au. Feel free to check it out. Links in the description, self-plug. And I just want to show you the design process that went through this website. So again, feel free to check it out in your own time. I'll just scroll through while I talk to you guys. But in this website, it took me about 6 to 7 months to complete. And as you guys know, usually as a designer, you would have like a full-time job or doing freelance on the side. And most of the time you'll procrastinate on your portfolio website, which was definitely the case for me. And on top of that, you have other stuff, commitments with life, commitments to the gym, commitments with like other clients. So in the end, I really had to dedicate the time to push through this. And most designers, just like myself, the portfolio website is very vulnerable and we always want to get it perfect, and there's always revisions, and you're always like the internal dialogue in your head saying stuff like, I just need to make it 5% better before I push it live. So I really had to overcome a lot of that issues. But in the end, I'm very happy with what I've produced. And I have no like doubts, or I don't hate this website. I could sit here and be like, yeah, this website, if I just change this font or if I change this style or etc. But in the end, I'm actually happy with it. And I think that's definitely, as a designer, is what is good. If you're happy with the work, then that's all that matters in a way. Like that's how I internalize it. Say if you have a client, if the client's happy with what you produce, that's it. You don't have to sit there and overthink like, but it could be better. I can increase this design and put it into Dribble or, showcase it somewhere. I had to overcome that. And in the end, I'm very happy with what's produced, as I said. So as you know, in this website, I built it using Sketch and I developed it using Webflow. And I really wanted to make a very custom experience and something that's not template and something that had a lot of thought into it and a lot of personality. And in this video, as I said, I'll showcase everything. So that's the reason why I decided to create a website. Again, dereksu.com.au. So I actually realized to get a .au, which means it's an Australian domain, like .au is Australia, you actually have to register for an ABN, which is pretty easy once you know how. So I had to do that, where previously I actually had the domain name dereksu.me because I didn't know how to get the .com.au. But essentially, the reason why I pushed this website live was because I started to do freelancing through Fiverr, and I thought that it was time to actually, have a website. So when clients reach out, you can actually just send them your website rather than telling them, I'm good at this. You can just let the work speak for yourself. So like I said earlier, I did actually have past websites, which I'll just quickly show you what I've done. I believe this was my first website that was uploaded on dereksu.me. And this was a template. So I think this was about like a year or 2 years ago when I don't know how to develop a website. So I knew how to design a bit, but I just didn't know how to develop it. So as a result, I really had to just, go to Theme Forest and purchase a HTML template. And I particularly really like this template actually. I've showed people this website, and the first critique they'll say is it's just too overwhelming. Like in the hero section, there's just too much stuff. Like this is moving, these images are moving. It's just a lot. But in my opinion, I personally love this because it was just so unique. And just scrolling down real quick, I try to like sell my skills as like not just a web designer and web developer, but I also do presentation design and print design. Then I had like a showcase of my work. This was very interesting. So if I go on all my work, there's like a toggle feature. So I did some logos, I did some banners, some websites. And the crazy thing about this was in each section, there's a button called read more. And once you click onto that, it goes into like a portfolio in depth. And I actually had to write everything, which took a very, very long time. And in the end, I didn't even use it. Like I updated this website like 2 months later after I pushed it live. But as you can see, I have to write all this text here and etc. And that's one of my goals this year, is to really improve my writing skill. I feel like as a web designer and a developer, it's cool to have those skill sets, but one skill set that is needed is copywriting, because that affects how the user reads your page also affects conversion. And on top of this, it really affects SEO, using certain keywords, making sure you write using certain keywords that will rank high, something like that. And also, to be very honest, my grammar is not very good, nor is my spelling. So I think this will help me improve. So that's pretty much it about the website. It's just a couple of pages, and I won't go too much in depth of the rest. So moving from that website, although I really liked it, I decided to pick up Webflow, and this could be a video on its own where I had to overcome the steep learning curves. But essentially, I custom designed the website, and then I developed it, and here was the end result. I took inspiration from certain websites, which I won't go into detail. But again, I was just trying to sell. More so, I was trying to practice. I knew like putting this website up, no one knows anything about me. I'm not gonna, get any customers, but it was more so just practice. So we just have some text, which addresses the customer's pain point. Then we have a clear call to action, which is get a proposal, which goes down to a Calendly link, which clients can book time with me, which they didn't, but that's my thought process. And it just reads like a sale page. So we have some recent success stories, which is I forget the word, but it's social proof. It's just showing that you have expertise. Here are some of my works, and I specifically put the stats in. This website got 400 unique visits per month, because that's what business owners care about. They care about the end result. They don't necessarily value design in a way, although some do. But it's the bottom line. So that's why I put the numbers in there. And yeah, so scrolling down, it again addresses the customer's pain point. If websites are very confusing, I can help you out. Let me fix this. And then it shows the steps that I've taken, and then just has some testimonials for social proof, and then just like a call to action. Let's talk, let's book a time using my Calendly link. So those were my two websites, and I can tell that this website, it was nice and stuff, but what I really wanted from my new website was a portfolio website that not necessarily focuses on getting clients per se, in the sense where you have a really clear call to action where you want them to click and then they'll hire you, but more so it's just like, here's my work. So you'll notice in this website design, I don't even have a button anywhere here saying click to hire me. Like, I purposely did that on purpose. So cool. So those are my inspiration websites. I'll now show you what I did in Sketch and a bit of my thought process in regards to this. So you're going to have to excuse me because the design is a bit messy, and to be very honest, it's not very well done. The reason why is because I'm lazy, but it's also because I am the client and I'm also the person developing this website. So you may notice in some instances, there's just like this gray box. It might even look like a wireframe to some people, which I'll never hand this to a client, and I don't recommend you doing this. But since I was the client and I was developing this in Webflow, I kind of just, slacked off a bit. You can even argue some of the spacing is inconsistent, but again, because I knew I was developing this in Webflow, I knew that I was going to make all the spacing correct in Webflow. So essentially, this is like a very rough design, you can say. So yeah, cool. So here's the sketch file, and maybe perhaps before I talk about this, I'll talk about some of the design inspirations that got me to this stage, and I'll just show you right now. So the biggest design inspiration was this website called VRRB. I think it's pronounced Verb, which I found on Lappa Ninja, which is a great website. Definitely recommend. So lappa.ninja. And what I specifically loved about this site was the style. Like, just looking at it right now, it's just so unique. You just have this clear text, header 1, then you have the name, verb at the background, and everything just screams custom. You have this custom cursor effect, which I thought was amazing. And I really just like the layout, how it does just have nice images that really tell the story. As you guys know, pictures are worth 1,000 words. Then you scroll down, I really like this layout where there's like a text on the left and then a bigger text on the right, like a 2-column grid layout. Then you just have this cool flying text as you scroll down. Those were the main things that I really liked about this website, and you can tell that I really drew a lot of inspiration. and I moved it towards my website. So this is definitely a good website to check out. And again, I just really like the style. The next website was a website called Crush Editorial, and this is made by Tim Ricks, the Webflow genius or the Webflow wizard. He makes amazing YouTube tutorials. Definitely check him out if you're an inspiring Webflow developer. He actually helped me overcome a lot of those Webflow steep learning curves when I gave up like 100 times. So what I specifically loved about this website again was the custom cursor. And on top of that, I really like this spinning text, let's talk, how it just spins. And when the cursor goes over it, there's almost like an interaction where that circle cursor effect goes into like a bigger circle cursor effect. So I thought that was really cool. I love the animations in this website. And scrolling down, again, I really like this layout. I think this looks like a 3-column grid, which is kind of similar to the Verb site. But on top of everything, the most noticeable feature I loved about this site was this call to action at the end. If you notice that when you scroll up, there's a bit of white in the background, but as soon as you go to the bottom and you scroll all the way to the bottom, the background changes to this really nice olive color. So I thought that was really cool, and it really draws your attention with the large font size, ask us anything. It makes you really want to click into it. So that's why I did that. And the last website that I drew my inspiration from, or the last 2 websites, was one called Made Together. And what I specifically loved about this website, there's a lot to love about it, but it's mainly the fact that the logo on the top left and the hamburger icon are the exact same width, and it really creates this really nice balance in the website. And you may notice as you scroll onto this website, sure, the background color changes to the project, but all the content goes in between the logo and the navbar. So I thought that was really nice and very, very nice. So I decided to use that as inspiration as well. And finally, the last website that I drew inspiration from was a website called ChristineTang.com. She's a UI UX product designer, and her site was made in WordPress, which I thought was interesting. But again, I really like this circle text where it just spins around as you scroll down. And what I specifically loved about Christine Tang's website was the fact that she was brave enough, probably because she's already an established designer, to just dump random work. So again, if you go to her about page, she mentions she's a UI UX designer or product designer, but then she just puts like random images of drawings. And of course, it's not random. It shows that this is, in a way, graphic design. This is design. But a lot of people will argue that when you're creating a personal website, you want to niche down, so you don't want to say I create websites. You want to say something like I create WordPress websites for small businesses. And then in that website, you don't really want to put anything outside of WordPress. You don't want to mention that you do drawing or that you're a graphic designer, because it deters from what you're actually trying to do. So I thought it was very, very brave that she put all these works down. And that's honestly what I did on my website as well, which I'll show you a bit later. So this is definitely a very nice website that anybody should check out. And that's about it. So we'll jump into the Sketch program. And you can instantly see that my idea was to have that logo on the top left and all the links on the right using a hamburger, similar to that Made Together site that I just showed you. And you may also notice that this website, after seeing the Verb website, it's very similar. You have those texts, you have your name, my name here, if you guys can see, in an outline at the background, followed by an arrow and the images that we saw on the Verb website as well. And I incorporated this nice spinning text. As I mentioned, I really liked it. So I wanted this to spin around just to create some sort of engagement on my website, to make it very lively rather than just very static. That's something I really didn't want. And scrolling down, you may notice the 2-column layout that I really liked. That's what I decided to do. And scrolling down, you may notice, similar to the Verb website, I had an idea when the user scrolls down to my projects, this text will go from left to right, and this will go right to left. And also the background color will change from white to black. I thought that would be a really nice experience. So rather than showing the portfolio as like, here it is, it's like the background changes to this black. So it really focuses on what you're trying to do. So that was my thought process. And scrolling down, you can see I just left it gray again, because I'm too lazy. I then try to give myself credibility by saying I've completed over 30 plus websites across multiple industries. And you may notice I made minor changes from this. For example, I then highlighted this to orange to really make it pop because it's very important. And I had the idea on the right-hand side to list all the websites that I've created, and I wanted to hyperlink all of them, as I believe that would help with SEO. And also, it really just shows, not tells, because anyone can just say, I've done 30 plus websites, I've done 1 million websites, but then I wanted to list that 1 million website that I've created. Then we have just a nice image. Again, all these images were mostly placeholders, but I wanted an image to showcase myself working or showing my expertise somehow. Scrolling down, we just have a bunch of logos. In the end, I decided to put like a circle text that says brands that I've worked with, but that was my thought process. And moving on from that, we have testimonials. So this again will go left to right and right to left upon scroll, and it's just a bunch of testimonials here, which is just dummy text for now. And then lastly, we have that crushed editorial style that I really like. I wanted the background color again to fade from white to like this light orange. I knew I wanted to use orange because simply it's my favorite color, and it's just like bright, vibrant, and it's always been my favorite color. But I had to refine the shade of orange, which I'll talk a bit about next. So that's pretty much it. And then I decided to have an About Us page. So the reason why I decided to have an About Us page is just to show clients who take the effort to click on About, because I knew in my mind when the user lands on my website, they're probably just going to see that landing page, that one home page that I just shown just then. But if they click on the hamburger icon and decide to learn more about me, I want to make a very unique experience. I didn't want to, put some like robotic thing saying, oh, I am a web developer, I do this. Like I want to show some personality. And in the end, ultimately it's my website, so I can do whatever I want. I don't have to be like, I don't have to overthink it. Like, what if I put this and it's inappropriate, etc., etc. Like I had to just get rid of that thought process. So, immediately with my caption, I thought it'd be funny if I say something like, you want to learn more about me? Sure, you pervert, like that's pretty funny. Like it's different, And then I went to a step further by saying, my name is Derek Su, and my father left me when I was 2 years old, which is actually true. But then I know it's true, and I know it's too much, obviously. You definitely don't want to tell a client this, on the first day you meet them. So then I say, oh, too much information, sorry, So it's kind of like a bit of a humor thing, and it keeps the reader engaged. That's my thought process. I could have easily just put like, my name is Derek Su, and I'm a web developer, web designer. Like, who cares, right? Because in my mind, I also know that based on like the videos that I watched through Chris Do and stuff, you can only get so good at web design, web developer. I'm obviously not the best. I don't intend to be like the very best, but I know that I knew at the time that when someone hires you, you're good enough for the job. What separates you from someone else? It's most likely the personality, the attitude. It's most likely the person hires you for your personality rather than the work that you produce, because you can only produce it in certain level. That's how I saw it. And then scrolling down, we have the same portfolio effect where it fades into black, and then it says rewind the tape, let's start again, and then it just shows a bit about me. So I had to think about what to put, but I knew that I really wanted to put a video because it keeps it very engaging. So I had a video of me playing tennis, a video of me doing Kered Animations. So, feel free to check that out on YouTube. This is where I spent like 6 years of my life. That's exaggeration. Maybe like 2 to 3 years of my life just like learning how to animate like really simple flash animations, and it really helped me in a lot of ways actually. I strongly believe this thing helped me like land my job that I'm currently at, and I put a lot of effort into it. So check it out if you want. A video of me going to the gym, a video of me doing a podcast that I've created with one of my coworkers called the Relator Board. So feel free to check that out. And then, of course, Existential Crisis. If anybody knows me, no comment. Cool. Then another image, followed by a bunch of more details about me. Not too deep details, but just details such as my favorite TV shows, YouTubers, and topics I found interesting. Then I moved on to my full work history. So it tells like when I was born and what I specifically done during my life. What I ended up doing from the final website was getting rid of like miscellaneous jobs that were irrelevant. So for example, I was a delivery driver, but no one needs to know that, no one cares. I was a bartender, again, I don't think anyone cares. And again, if you're looking for a job as like a graphic designer or a web developer, etc., especially if it's not an entry-level position, you don't want to just put down that you were a bartender or you worked in this McDonald's when you were like a uni student. It adds no value, you know. If it's an entry-level job and you don't have much like experience and references, then yeah, it might be a good idea to put it in there because it shows that you worked in a team and you've held a job. But when you get to that middle and high level, there's no point. Like imagine if you're like the CEO of Amazon and you're trying to apply for that position, and then you just put down, you know, I worked as like McDonald's. Like that's arguable. Anyways, and again, that just ends with a nice call to action. So that's pretty much it. My website only had a home page, about us page, and then also a portfolio page, which like I mentioned, I got inspired by Christine Tang's website and her braveness to just insert a lot of work that she's done in the past. So in the past, I actually was a graphic designer, trying to get rid of this annoying bar here. There we go. So in the past, I did do a lot of graphic design work. So I've created business cards, pamphlets, nice signages. This is probably my favorite here. I think this image is cut off here. But this is a menu board that I've done for a company called Nutrition Station. And from time to time, I actually walk past this store and I see my design in outside, like they hang it in a poster. And it's just not just any poster, but it's like a very large poster. So like when someone buys it, they can't miss it. So it's really cool that I did that and I got the opportunity to do that. Here's another logo that I made. And I also make a lot of company decks, company portfolio decks, annual reports, etc. So that's pretty much it. And lastly, what I decided was a navigation bar. Like I mentioned on the right hand side, when the user clicks onto this, it opens up this full screen menu that has about me, the random work, and let's chat. So one thing that was lacking from this website clearly was the fact that I didn't really have any brand identity. Like I mentioned, I didn't pick the colors. I didn't actually pick the font. So right now you see this font that's called Regave. Everything was actually Montserrat or Poppins, which is nice font. It's a nice Google font, but doesn't really stand you apart. And what I really noticed was that in websites, what really stands something apart is, sure, it's the images and it's the colors, but it's also the font and the typeface. So I really had a lot of trouble doing that. And I'm just going to be honest, I'm not really a brand identity designer, although, you know, I know a bit about it. So what I did was I reached out to one of my really good friends that I met in Canada. His name is Linus Yam. Hey Linus, if you're watching this. And I hired him. I paid him nothing. I'm sorry. I paid him something, but he's worth way more than that. I just didn't have the money, as most clients would say, which means it's not important to me. But anyways, I got him to do my brand identity and specifically my logo. And what I really loved about Linus's work was the detail that he put into it. You know, he really understood what I was trying to achieve better than I understood. So here's some of the decks that he sent me. You know, he mentioned that I'm a marketing specialist, web developer. He identified my audiences based on the call that I had. And then he just dumped like a bunch of logos and said, hey, which one do you like best? Ranked them from 1 to 7. And I did that. And then moving on from that, he then came back to me with an ideation where I believe he hand drew all these ones with his iPad. And then again, I chose a different one that I liked. And he also found a bunch of fonts that would match my identity. And I picked a bunch of these. To be honest, I actually didn't like any of these. So he actually went the extra mile and kept looking, you know. So thank you. And after that, he then moved into, you know, the logo. He scoped it out a bit more. He fleshed it out. He showed the concept here. Then he showed that font that I ended up loving, you know, Regave and Ocni. This is a very nice font. I really like this. As soon as I saw this, I was like, that's really cool, you know. It's better than Poppins and Montserrat, which is used everywhere. And then he gave me some recommendation of colors. I believe the orange and blue is very nice. But in the end, I chose this burnt orange color. And finally, he delivered the work, you know. I feel like most logo designers or freelancers out there, as a tip, again, I don't have much credibility, but if I was a client and I hired someone to make my logo, let's just say I'm Pepsi and I hired someone to create my logo and I paid them $1 million to create my logo, that person that created my logo doesn't want to just hand me the Pepsi logo and be like, here it is. Because as a client, I'll just be like, wow, I could have done this myself. So what really helps you sell the logo, and what I recommend you do, is these types of deck where it just shows the thought process that you put into it. So then it justifies the price. You know, here's the final logo. Look how nice the work is presented, is what I'm trying to say, you know. Like this made me feel like a piece of crap because I should have paid him more money. This blew my mind. And then you have these type of stuff that just shows, you know, like what he's thinking, you know. Some people might just look at this logo and just brush past it, but it actually has some sort of meaning, you know. D is for my name, Derek, and the S is obviously my last name. And then it almost has this scroll, like this scroll that represents wisdom and information, and also speech bubbles, as in like I'm approachable and friendly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy, you know. It reminds me of the FedEx logo, where most people, when they first look at it, they wouldn't realize that there's this arrow that just points like moving. So that was really cool. Again, he did all this like line work, which is like, it just looks cool to me. Like this, I really like this. Like I don't even do logos or whatever, but like this just, like, as a client, like this makes me very happy, you know. It was like this guy really cared and he put the extra time and attention to doing this. So again, check out Linus DM's work. I'll link it in the description. He did an amazing job. And again, I really want the logo to be balanced with the hamburger icon. So that's why I wanted to be a compact logo rather than like a word mark logo. So in the end, I really loved it. And then finally, the nail on the coffin, the icing on the cake, he shows examples of how the logo is applied. This is huge in brand identity. You don't want to just give a logo. You want to give a logo and potentially most likely a brand identity. How's this logo going to work in an Instagram icon? How's this logo going to look in a massive billboard? You know, how's this logo going to look like in a computer, different screen resolution, in a business card? You know, you don't have to design the business card, but just show it in the business card. Like, amazing. So I was very happy with this, as you can tell, and I can talk another 10 hours, but I'm not going to. So in the end, I used the color that he recommended. I believe it was a bit of a burnt orange. I just didn't bother changing it in the design. And you may notice in this page here, I then put the logo here on the top left, and I found this nice animation, this hamburger icon. I say animation because in the end, I know I'm going to make it into a Lottie file, which I got from FinSuite, which I'll talk a bit more later, but it's very balanced. So if I just drag this underneath, maybe I was a bit lazy here, but when I developed it, it was the same width. So if I just click onto this, I would have made it like this and something like this. So it's very close to like that made together site. And my plan was that everything will go in between it as you scroll. So let's take a look at all this stuff here. When the user scrolls, the content will just go in between my logo and the hamburger icon. So I really like that. So in the end, that's pretty much it. I can talk a bit about the WordPress development. When I developed this, I was probably like a beginner in Webflow, trying to move into like an intermediate person. So a lot of stuff was very new to me. So for example, all these ideas I had in my head, I'm like, can I even do it? You know, and in the end I did, which was amazing. So let's look at the eye icon here. So we have this text, Derek Sue, that just moves left to right upon scroll. And then I thought it'd be a really cool idea to make the site more dynamic rather than just very static, to have this text always rotating. So teaching, designing, and building professional Webflow sites that, you know, increase customers, that look good, etc. And I had to figure out how to do this, you know, like if you're using something like Elementor or like Wix or something, maybe they have like a drag and drop feature, but with Webflow, there is no drag and drop. And I had to realize how to do it. And it's actually very interesting learning development. Like it really challenged myself. So how this is done, for those that want to know, is there's a bunch of text and there's pretty much a box that has a mask that doesn't show the text. So it has overflow hidden. let me just show you. So right now this is overflow hidden. This box right here is overflow hidden, and once you click visible, this is actually what it looks like. So like that. That's actually how you do it. And again, the thing about development is there's probably like another 6 ways that you can do this, but this is how I did it. See, you see that? And then went back, you know. So this is the type of stuff that, you know, I had to think about, which was very rewarding once you pull it off. And I'm very proud of myself. Not to sound egotistical. And on top of that, you may notice that I did a custom cursor, which is something I had to learn as well. Thankfully, there's heaps of YouTube tutorials, and this is probably like very easy to do once you know how. Scrolling down, you may notice that there's a nice arrow animation, just very subtle, prompting the user to scroll down, showing that there is more. And I deliberately made this image of myself, like you can just see my head cut off, because it almost wants, it prompts the user to scroll down, you know, like, oh, that's a nice image, let me scroll down. And I'd just like to say that on this day, I got my coworker to take a bunch of images of me working, and he did a very fantastic job. So thank you. So once the user scrolls down, they'll see me, and this is where I had that text animation. You may remember the sketch file that I had. And on top of this, similar to Crush Editorial, I wanted the cursor, when it goes over it, it expands, and that's what I did. And this is achieved pretty easily once you look at a couple of tutorials. And then you may notice that when you scroll down this site, the images also have this like subtle scroll effect, which is achieved through when the user scrolls down, the image will move up, and this image will move down. So it has that really nice effect. It may be very hard to see here, so feel free to visit the website, dereksu.com.au, self-plug. And then, yeah, again, we have that text, that 2-column layout that I really liked, followed by some hyperlinks showcasing the company that I work for, New Motion Studio. Check it out. And I also freelance on the side. So when I designed this website, I didn't actually do freelance, but I eventually did, and that's why I put it in here. And this actually goes into my Fiverr account. So if I open this in a new tab, clients can actually hire me through Fiverr. Cool. And then scrolling down, we have that effect again from white to black. And this is achieved through, on scroll, change the body background color from white to black. And I think I had a bit of issue finding the correct timing for this that suits all the screen displays. So for example, like on an iMac, a bigger screen, or like on a desktop, like a MacBook on a smaller screen, I had a bit of trouble finding the correct timing so it works on all the devices. Because on scroll of the body, I'll just show you right now, it counts as percentages. So if I go into the body, and I go to body background change, it goes into percentages. So right now live preview is on. So you can see right now I'm on 39%. But it really depends on like the computer you have and the web browser, because in Chrome it has this bunch of space here. It's a long story. Anyways, the point is I had to find the sweet spot. Cool. Scrolling down, we just have the projects on the left and the right, which just currently go to the website. But in the future, I hope to build a feature where it explains a bit more of the thought process. And you may notice also the cursor expands a bit and the image shrinks. So it has that nice prompting feature. And yep, see, as I mentioned, I highlighted this, the over 50 plus. I think it was 30 plus at the time I designed it. Now I'm up to 50. And I had this spinning text here, followed by the logos that I worked for, followed by word on the street. So again, I might have changed the copy a bit from the design. In the design, it said customer reviews or something, but I changed it. And I had a bunch of testimonials that I've gotten from Fiverr. And I was also fortunate enough to have the opportunity to teach a class. That's another video on its own. My company gave me that opportunity, and I'm very thankful for it. So I got a bunch of testimonials for that as well. And in the end, I decided to highlight some of the keywords for 2 reasons. One is to highlight it to show that so they don't have to read everything. And the other one is just it's a better it looks more aesthetically pleasing rather than just having a bunch of black text. Then we have that image of me that my coworker took, full screen, so it looks cool. It looks like I know code, which I do a bit through Webflow. And then I actually have this call to action that you saw in Crush editorial. And on top of this, I actually put a particle effect, which I found on Tim Rick's Webflow account, which you can't see in the Webflow designer view because it's not native Webflow, it's custom code. So if I just go into the actual live website, what it actually looks like is this. So you have this background particle effect. So I took it to the next level, I thought it looked really cool, made it very dynamic. And that's actually very easy to do through custom code, which you can find out on a YouTube tutorial. So it's just a code. And that is pretty much it. I'll just show you the rest of the website in this live view. I made the hamburger icon, then I made the About Me page, which looks like this. And when you scroll down, the text moves, there's the image of me, etc. Then we have the fade to black, then the videos that I wanted, that I showed earlier. And then once you scroll down, you may notice I have that animation of the image going from big to small, which had just a nice effect, and then a bunch of text. Then we have this resume work history where I decided to code in this line, and this line will grow in height as the user scrolls down. So it guides the user's eye, and it also creates this dynamic motion in the website to keep it interesting. And then we have the typical CTA landing call to action at the bottom of each page. Then I decided, through the inspiration of Christine Tang, to just dump in my graphic design work that I mentioned earlier. And that is pretty much it. So that is my website. And again, I had to make it all responsive, which I did, through various methods like CSS Grid and Flexbox. And I coded this whole website using EMS. So that's the wizardry technique that Tim Ricks did or taught. And that's based on viewport width. That's what I defined it as. So typically, if you use pixels, to my knowledge, you have to create a larger breakpoint. So it looks good on like a really large display like an iMac. But since I did EMs and I based it on viewport width, this website would actually look almost identical. It would look identical in an iMac screen and a MacBook screen. So right now I'll show you an example, 1920, hit enter. That's 1920 right now. So 1920. So right now you couldn't even tell the difference. And if I move this to like a 1440, you didn't even know the difference. So, and of course I made a max width container. So if you have like this really, really wide screen, like nowadays some people have like this ultra curved monitor, like let's just put like something absurd like 5000, it would have a container so it won't just stretch out the whole screen. So that's what I did, and that's why I really like using EMs for better responsiveness, and it's almost less work. It's faster development, as Tim Ricks would say. And that's pretty much it. So in the future, I hope to build in a blog feature and build in a portfolio in-depth feature. And yeah, I also hope to make more of these videos to describe my design process. I know it's extremely long, but that's the whole point. And it'll be just fun for me to look back one day onto this video and just, for the shits and gigs. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you found value in this, I would appreciate if you give me a like and, stroke my ego. And if you want to learn more about what I do, you can visit my website, again, dereksu.com.au. You can also check out my other YouTube channel, Kered Animation, which will be linked down. And if you want to hire me, you can just reach out on my website. And I would also appreciate if you guys can please give me some feedback or critique. Like I'm trying to improve myself, put my ego aside, and I'm willing to respond to all comments as long as I'm alive and as long as YouTube doesn't take over the world. So thank you so much for your time. Peace.